Let me ask you something. When was the last time airport security actually surprised you? Not the lines, not the shoes off routine. I mean really surprised you. Because here's the thing. Most people flying right now feel like nothing has changed. Same terminals, same bins, same routine they've done 100 times. And that's exactly why so many travelers are getting blindsided in 2026. Something big has shifted at airports, and it didn't come with an announcement. No emails, no signs, no warning. It happened quietly, behind the scenes, while everyone was focused on making their flight. Security doesn't just look at your bag anymore, it studies it. New scanners are breaking your luggage down layer by layer, measuring batteries, wiring, density, and materials in seconds. And if something doesn't match what the system expects, your bag stops moving. That power bank you've carried for years? That gadget you always bring just in case. Suddenly, there are problems. And here's the part most travelers don't understand until it's too late. The rules didn't change. The tolerance did. In 2026, if security can't instantly verify what something is, they don't debate it. They don't warn you. They remove it. People are losing expensive gear, missing flights, and standing at checkpoints arguing over items they've flown with dozens of times before, and they never see those items again. So today, I'm walking you through the electronics most likely to get confiscated in 2026. The ones catching travelers completely off guard, so you don't learn this lesson the hard way. Because once your bag gets pulled, it's already too late. The hidden shift. What TSA scanners see now. To understand why this is happening, you have to understand what security actually sees now. For years, TSA relied on traditional X-ray machines, flat images, limited depth, a lot of human interpretation. If an item looked familiar enough, it usually passed. That era is over. In 2026, most major airports are using advanced CT scanners, the same type of imaging used in hospitals. But these aren't just scanners. They're decision systems. They rotate around your bag, building a full 3D model of everything inside. They don't guess, they calculate. The system evaluates density, internal structure, wiring paths, and even chemical composition. It knows what a standard power bank looks like. It knows what a factory-made device should look like. And it knows when something doesn't match the pattern. That's the key difference. These scanners aren't asking, "Does this look dangerous?" They're asking, "Does this look exactly like what it claims to be?" If the answer isn't an immediate yes, the bag gets flagged. And once it's flagged, the human officer isn't there to debate. They're there to confirm or remove. That's why travelers feel blindsided. Security didn't get stricter on paper, it got smarter in practice. And smart systems don't give the benefit of the doubt. The zero-tolerance era. Why 2026 is different. This is where most travelers misunderstand what's happening. They think they missed a rule change. They think TSA quietly banned new items. They think someone is enforcing things incorrectly. That's not what's going on. The rules are mostly the same ones you've seen for years. What changed is how much uncertainty TSA is willing to tolerate. In 2026, there is no gray area anymore. If an item can't be identified instantly on the scanner, it doesn't move forward to discussion. It moves to inspection. And if inspection doesn't result in immediate confidence, the decision is simple. It doesn't fly. Officers are no longer trained to use judgment the way they once were. They're trained to eliminate risk. And risk, in this environment, means anything damaged, modified, unlabeled, unfamiliar, or powered by a lithium-ion battery that doesn't clearly match known profiles. There are no warnings now. No, next time, don't bring this. No exceptions because you've flown with it before. Passengers are missing flights not because they broke a rule, but because something couldn't be verified fast enough. And once TSA makes that call, there's no appeal process at the checkpoint. You don't argue your way out. You don't explain your intent. The final decision belongs to the officer standing there. That's why people are losing expensive gear they've carried for years. And it starts with one of the most painful losses happening at airports right now. Number 1. Smart luggage. The $400 mistake that ends before takeoff. Let's start with one of the most expensive lessons travelers are learning in 2026. Smart luggage. Those sleek suitcases with built-in chargers, USB ports, GPS tracking, and app connectivity feel like a modern travel upgrade. For a lot of people, they're the most expensive bag they own. And they're also one of the fastest ways to lose hundreds of dollars before your trip even begins. The rule here is brutally simple and completely non-negotiable. Any smart suitcase with a non-removable lithium-ion battery is banned. Not just from the cargo hold, from the aircraft entirely. Carry-on or checked, it doesn't matter. If the battery can't be removed easily, the bag doesn't fly. Why? Fire risk. Lithium-ion batteries can enter thermal runaway without warning. If that happens in a cargo hold, the crew can't reach it. And that's a scenario aviation authorities will not gamble with, ever. That's why this rule is treated as black and white. And this is where travelers get trapped. People show up at the airport with $300, $400, even $500 suitcases, assuming they've flown with it before, so it must be fine. Then, at check-in or security, they're told the battery can't fly. One traveler was told her battery was technically removable, but only with a screwdriver. She didn't have one. She didn't have time. Her choices were brutal. Miss the flight or abandon the suitcase. No exceptions, no sympathy, no flexibility. The only solution is preventative. Before you pack, check the battery. You must be able to remove it by hand without tools. If you can, take it out and carry the battery in the cabin. If you can't, don't bring the suitcase at all. In 2026, smart luggage is either compliant or it's a guaranteed confiscation waiting to happen. Number 2. Power banks. The silent confiscation nobody sees coming. Almost everyone flies with a power bank now. Phones, tablets, headphones, watches. It feels harmless, necessary even. And that's exactly why so many travelers are getting caught off guard in 2026. The new TSA scanners are exceptionally good at spotting battery density. Power banks light them up instantly. And once they do, the rules get very strict, very fast. This isn't about size, it's about watt-hours. Power banks under 100 watt-hours are generally allowed, but only in your carry-on. Every spare lithium-ion battery, including power banks, is completely forbidden in checked luggage. If it's found there, it's removed, period. For larger power banks between 101 and 160 watt-hours, airline approval is required before you fly. And anything over 160 watt-hours is banned entirely. But here's the part that's catching people off guard. If a TSA officer cannot clearly read the watt-hour rating, they are trained to confiscate the device. No visible label means no way to verify safety. No verification means it doesn't fly. That expensive laptop power bank? Gone. That off-brand backup charger with faded text? Gone. Officers aren't guessing anymore. If they can't confirm it on the spot, it goes straight into the bin. The fix is simple, but unforgiving. Buy reputable brands that clearly print watt-hours. If the label is worn, reprint it and tape it on. And no matter what, Keep power banks in your carry-on only. In 2026, power banks don't get warnings. They get taken. Number 3. Loose spare batteries. The photographer's hidden trap. If you travel with cameras, drones, or any serious tech, this is where even experienced travelers get burned. Spare lithium-ion batteries feel like common sense. Extra power means fewer problems. Until TSA sees them the wrong way. The rule itself hasn't changed, but enforcement in 2026 is ruthless. Every spare lithium-ion battery is completely banned from checked luggage. Every single one. No exceptions. The reason is simple and dangerous. Loose batteries can short-circuit if their metal terminals touch other objects inside a bag. That can cause heat buildup, fire, and cascading failure, especially in a cargo hold where no one can intervene. That's a risk TSA will not tolerate. But here's where travelers still lose them. Even in carry-on bags, spare batteries must be protected. Original packaging, individual battery cases, plastic bags, taped terminals, any method that prevents contact. What doesn't work is tossing loose batteries into a pouch and hoping for the best. The new CT scanners instantly identify battery chemistry. When they see multiple unprotected cells grouped together, that's an automatic bag check. And if those batteries are found in checked luggage, they're confiscated without you even being present. You won't argue, you won't explain, you'll just find a TSA notice when you land. Photographers and drone pilots get hit hardest because they carry more batteries than the average traveler. And in 2026, I didn't know doesn't slow the process down at all. If your spare batteries aren't protected and in your carry-on, you're already playing a losing game. Number 4. Cordless hair tools, where the rules get unpredictable. This one catches people off guard, especially travelers who've flown with the same item for years without a single problem. Cordless hair tools feel harmless. Curling irons, straighteners, compact travel stylers. But in 2026, these devices are getting flagged more often than ever, and the reason depends entirely on how they're powered. Let's start with lithium-ion models. Like any battery-powered electronic, these are safest in your carry-on. But that alone isn't enough anymore. TSA is also watching for accidental activation. If an officer believes a hair tool could turn on and heat up inside your bag, they can remove it. No lock, no protective case, no power safeguard. That's all it takes. Now comes the confusing part: butane-powered hair tools. Technically, TSA allows one butane-powered hair tool in your carry-on, and only if it has a safety cover over the heating element. Spare gas cartridges are completely forbidden. Here's the problem. Enforcement is wildly inconsistent. Some airlines ban these tools entirely. Some TSA officers aren't comfortable with the rule at all. Travelers have reported losing perfectly allowed butane curlers simply because the officer didn't want to take the risk. And that's the key word in 2026. Risk. If an officer is unsure, the item doesn't fly. Period. To avoid the gamble, stick to corded hair tools when you travel, or use a lithium-ion version that's locked, cased, and carried on. Anything else is a roll of the dice, and TSA isn't required to roll it in your favor. Number 5. Vapes and e-cigarettes. Zero tolerance. No second chances. If you vape, this is one rule you cannot bend. Not even slightly. In 2026, vapes and e-cigarettes are one of the highest priority items for TSA and the FAA. And the policy around them is absolute. You can never pack a vape, e-cigarette, or electronic smoking device in your checked luggage. Ever. This isn't a warning level rule, it's zero tolerance. The reason is a double risk. Lithium-ion batteries can overheat. Liquids can leak. Together, they're treated as a serious fire hazard in the cargo hold. So here's the only way they're allowed. Vapes must be in your carry-on or on your person. And even then, TSA requires you to prevent accidental activation. That means powering the device off, locking it, or removing the battery if possible. Vape liquids fall under the standard 3-1-1 rule. Bottles must be 3.4 ounces, or 100 milliliters, or smaller, all inside a single quart-sized bag. Anything larger doesn't make it through. Now here's the part most travelers ignore. If TSA finds a vape in your checked bag, you don't get called over. You don't get to explain. The device is removed, and you'll only realize it's gone when you open your suitcase at your destination. And one more warning. While TSA allows vapes in carry-on bags, many other countries don't. Some ban them entirely. Flying internationally with a vape can escalate from confiscation to fines very quickly. In 2026, the rule is brutally simple. Carry on only, secured, or expect to lose it. Number 6. Electric razors. Why harmless grooming tools are getting flagged. For decades, electric razors were the definition of a safe travel item. Toss it in your bag. Forget about it. Move on. In 2026, that assumption is getting people stopped. The new CT scanners don't see an electric razor. They see a dense object with a battery, wiring, and a motor packed into a tight cylinder. That combination now triggers extra scrutiny. Most of the time, a modern, clean, name-brand razor passes without issue. But here's where travelers lose them. Older models, off-brand devices, razors with cracked casings, tape, swelling, corrosion, or loose parts. On the scanner, those details matter. If a device looks damaged or tampered with, TSA pulls the bag. Once it's out, the officer has to answer one question. Is this clearly safe? If the answer isn't an immediate yes, they're trained to err on the side of caution. And that's when confiscation happens. Not because electric razors are banned, but because the officer can't confidently identify the device as non-threatening. And arguing doesn't help. In 2026, it's just a razor isn't a defense. The safest move is simple. Travel with a razor that looks clean, intact, and obviously factory-made. If it looks beat up, repaired, or questionable, you're rolling the dice, and TSA isn't obligated to roll it with you. Number 7. Electric toothbrushes. The vibration that gets them taken. Electric toothbrushes are allowed. And that's exactly why this one is so frustrating. In 2026, electric toothbrushes are getting extra attention at airport security. Not because they're banned, but because of how they appear and behave inside your bag. On a CT scanner, an electric toothbrush shows up as a dense tube packed with a motor, wiring, and a lithium-ion battery. If that image isn't perfectly clear, it's automatically treated as a suspicious electronic device. Two things trigger confiscation more than anything else. First, accidental activation. If your toothbrush turns on inside your bag, buzzing, vibrating, shifting other items around, that movement, combined with a strange CT image, is an instant red flag. Officers don't wait to see what it is. They pull the bag, inspect it, and if they're not fully comfortable, it's gone. Second, condition. Cracks in the handle. Tape. Corrosion near the charging port. A handle that looks repaired or modified. From TSA's perspective, that stops being a toothbrush and starts looking like a homemade electronic device with a battery inside. And homemade electronics are exactly what these scanners are designed to isolate. The fix is boring but effective. Use a hard travel case that covers the power button. Pack it where it won't get crushed. And don't travel with old, beat-up handles that look like they've been repaired over the years. In 2026, clean, intact, and clearly normal is the only version that consistently survives security. Number 8. Drones. How expensive gear gets left behind. Drones are one of the fastest ways to lose serious money at the airport if you don't follow the rules exactly. On paper, TSA allows drones in both carry-on and checked luggage. In reality, checking a drone in 2026 is one of the worst mistakes you can make. And once again, the reason comes down to batteries. Spare lithium-ion drone batteries are completely banned from checked bags. If they're found there, they can be pulled and confiscated without you ever being present. You won't be called over. You won't be warned. You'll only realize what happened when you open your suitcase at your destination. Even in your carry-on, drones are under heavy scrutiny. If a battery is oversized, unlabeled, looks modified, or doesn't clearly show its watt-hour rating, TSA officers are trained to remove it. Professional-grade batteries over 160 watt-hours are an instant stop. Third-party batteries with no visible specs are another common loss. But there's an extra layer most travelers don't think about. Drones attract attention on their own. A drone with exposed wiring, DIY modifications, missing registration markings, or anything that looks custom can quickly shift from travel gadget to suspicious device. In some airports, and especially internationally, that alone is enough to trigger confiscation or extended questioning. And once again, the final call belongs to the officer. If they're not comfortable with what they're seeing, your drone doesn't fly, no matter how much it cost you. In 2026, drones need to look factory clean, fully labeled, and battery compliant. Anything else is an expensive gamble. Number 9. Hidden cameras and spy gear. Legal doesn't mean safe. This category is niche, but when it goes wrong, it goes very wrong. Hidden cameras and spy-style electronics aren't explicitly banned by TSA rules. And that technical detail is exactly what gets people into trouble in 2026. We're talking about pen cameras, USB chargers with hidden lenses, clocks with concealed recorders, anything that looks like one object but contains the components of another. Here's the problem. The new CT scanners are designed to detect anomalies. A device that doesn't internally match what it claims to be on the outside is the textbook definition of an anomaly. When the scanner sees a charger with camera wiring inside, or a pen containing a battery, lens, and storage chip, it gets flagged immediately. That triggers a mandatory bag check and a very close inspection. At that point, you'll be asked to explain what it is and why you're carrying it. And if the explanation isn't clear, the device looks modified, or it appears homemade in any way, the officer has full authority to confiscate it. From TSA's perspective, disguised electronics aren't a novelty. They're a potential threat. Even if you have a legitimate reason, you're inviting scrutiny you probably don't want. And if you hesitate, get defensive, or can't explain it calmly, the odds shift against you fast. The safest move in 2026 is simple. Don't travel with hidden electronics at all. Being technically allowed doesn't protect you when an officer isn't comfortable with what they're seeing. Number 10. Rechargeable plasma lighters. The TSA-friendly lie. This last one catches people because it sounds modern, safe, and approved. Rechargeable plasma lighters, sometimes called arc lighters, are often marketed as TSA-friendly. In 2026, that label is dangerously misleading. Here's the reality. Unlike traditional disposable lighters, plasma lighters are battery-powered devices designed for one purpose: generating intense heat. And that combination, lithium-ion battery plus heat, makes both the TSA and the FAA extremely cautious. On paper, TSA guidance says electronic lighters may be allowed in carry-on bags if they're protected from accidental activation. In practice, enforcement is all over the place. At one airport, an officer might let it through without a second glance. At the next, the exact same device goes straight into the bin. Why? Because the final decision always belongs to the officer standing there. And in 2026, officers are trained to avoid risk, not to debate policy nuances. Anything with a lithium-ion battery whose sole function is to create heat gets extra scrutiny. And with the increased focus on battery-powered electronics this year, plasma lighters are being confiscated far more often than travelers expect. The safest move is boring, but reliable. Skip the fancy gadget. Stick with a simple disposable lighter. It's cheaper, easier to identify on the scanner, and far less likely to get taken. Final takeaway: how to fly smart in 2026. Here's what most travelers don't realize until it's too late. In 2026, anything with a lithium-ion battery is under a microscope. Smart luggage, power banks, vapes, grooming tools, even toothbrushes. If it's damaged, unlabeled, unprotected, or looks modified in any way, it becomes a problem fast. The scanners don't care how long you've traveled with it before. They don't care that it passed security last year. And officers aren't required to give warnings anymore. If something can't be verified instantly, it doesn't move forward. A few minutes of checking your gear at home, removing batteries, labeling power banks, protecting terminals, packing devices so they can't turn on, can save you from losing expensive equipment or missing your flight. Airport security isn't getting easier. It's getting smarter. And the travelers who adapt are the ones who make it through without surprises.